This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
Okay, welcome everyone. Shalom Aleichem. Today, Baruch Hashem, Siyata D'Shma, we begin a new limud, and we're learning the Iggeres HaGra. So this limud is sponsored by our good friends, the Klein family, Lo Eloi Nishmas, their grandmother, Sarah Bas Mordechai Halevi, Nisham Shem Naliyah, she should be Melitza Yishara for their home Mishpacha, Ad Biyasko El Tzedek. Now, the Iggeres HaGra is really a personal letter. It's a letter that the Gra wrote to his family when he traveled on his way to Eretz Yisroel. Ultimately, we're going to learn that trip was not successful and the Gra had to basically turn around. But this is a heartfelt letter, a powerful letter, and a letter which is very fierce Musar, very different than the Tamideh. It's a very different style of Musar. The Gra was very focused, intensely on Limud HaTorah, Amelus B'Torah, being very careful about every moment of the day and every word that he said. And the approach of the Gra and the Mahalach HaChaim of the Gra is very strongly felt in this letter, which became known as the Olim L'Trufa. That's sort of a medication and a personal letter that the Gra sent to his family, to his wife, to his mother, to his children. Now, the Gra, as we mentioned, was born in the year 1720, and he lived until 1797. He lived 77 years. Toward the end of the Gra's life, as it's recounted in the Aliyos Eliyahu, the Gra was known as Oyev Mitzvos Lo Yizba Mitzvos. There's nobody who is more focused on the amassing mitzvahs than the Vilna Gaon, and nevertheless he was not satisfied, and he decided he's going to move to Eretz Yisrael b'Soif Yamav. As we're going to see, the Gra's personal opinion is that living in Eretz Yisrael b'Zman Hazeh is not a mitzvah, is not a chiyuv, certainly not a chiyuv, but it's merely a maila, it's merely a very excellent and great attribute. But the Gra personally did not hold that there was a obligation to live in Eretz Yisrael. And the Gra left his family, left his wife, he left his mother, he left his children, and ultimately, on his way to Eretz Yisrael, he went through Hungary, he turned around. And if you look in the Hakdama of the Bir HaGra on Shulchan Aruch, his sons asked him, Tato, why didn't you go to Eretz Yisrael? And he responded with the following 5 words, Ein li reshus min hashamayim. He was not given license from heaven to be able to go to Eretz Yisrael. And much has been written, what did the Gra mean that he does not have license to go to Eretz Yisrael? So the Radal, Rav David Luria, explained, Ein li reshus means that the reason he didn't go is the shita of the Gra is to be machmir on hilchos ma'asrois as the shita of the Mabit. However, on his way to Eretz Yisrael, en route to Eretz Yisrael, he discovered that the Beis Yosef, Maran Bet Yosef, holds that there's a cherem not to be machmir like the shita of the Mabit, but to be meko like the Rambam. Realizing that if he would go to Eretz Yisrael, he would not be able to be machmir on Maisrois, the Gra decided to turn around. Again, this would be consistent with his shita that there's no chiyuv or even mitzvah perhaps to live in Eretz Yisrael b'zman hazeh. Now, interestingly, in the writings of the Gra was never machriya regarding whether one is chayiv or is not chayiv in Ma'asos b'zman hazeh. But this is one interpretation of what the Gra meant, that he did not have reshus min hashamayim. Now, in the Aliyos Eliyahu, it's brought that how could the Gra afford the trip to Eretz Yisrael? Many Gevirim, so to speak, sponsored the Gra's trip to Eretz Yisrael. However, upon return, the Gra returned all the money to the various Gevirim. There are many reasons, many explanations in what the Gra meant, Ein li reshus min hashamayim. One reason brought is that the Gra realized that on the boat there were a lot of ants, A-N-T-S, not A-U-N-T-S, a lot of nimalim, and they were in the food. And the Gra realized he would not be able to wash and bench on Shabbos. And the Gra therefore said it's not worth going to Eretz Yisrael if he would not be able to have Lechem Mishnah on the boat on Shabbos. Others suggest as follows: the Gra in his great Hasmada. Was there anyone more influential on Klal Yisrael in the last 500 years than the Gra? The Gra was a nitzotz, a spark of Moshe Rabbeinu, and therefore, just like Moshe Rabbeinu was not allowed into Eretz Yisrael, the Gra, being a spark of Moshe Rabbeinu, was not given license to go into Eretz Yisrael. However, the Radal was bothered by this reason, because we know that Reb Shimon Bar Yochai was a nitzotz of Moshe Rabbeinu, and certainly the Rashbi was allowed entry into Eretz Yisrael, so he did not accept that reason. Another interesting possibility of why what the Gra meant that he was not allowed into Eretz Yisrael was that the Gra held that in Yerushalayim, when Rosh Hashanah comes out on Shabbos, you have to blow shofar. We had a shir on that subject recently, and the Gra felt that the Bezin of Yerushalayim would not let him blow the shofar, and therefore the Gra decided to turn around. Others suggest that the Gra was frightful about the various Rishaim who were in Eretz Yisrael at the time. By the way, the Tamideh HaGra, between the years 1808 and 1812, the Tamideh HaGra, who were known as the Prushim, formed three groups of Talmidim who made Aliyah. A total of 500 students of the Gra made Aliyah between the years 1808 and 1812. And where did they settle? Where did the students of the Gra settle? They settled in Sfas. Why did they settle in Sfas? Because the Muslims did not allow Ashkenazim into Yerushalayim for 100 years. So the Gra, some say, was very afraid that from the Rishaim in Eretz Yisrael. Others suggest the Gra realized how difficult Parnasa was. But be it as it may, for some mysterious reason, after the Gra set sail to go to Eretz Yisrael, he ultimately returned. Now, why did the Gra's Talmidim go to Eretz Yisrael? So there's a famous conversation between the Levushe Srad. Levushe Srad was a student of Chasidus. He wrote the Arvei Nachal and Chumash, and he was conversing with the Gra's disciple, Rabbi Yisroel Mishkolov. And Rabbi Yisroel said the Goin told his Talmidim that a big storm is coming, and especially in the area of Chinuch Habanim. And the only place that we could be saved is in Eretz Yisrael, and that sort of promoted and precipitated the mass migration of the students of the Goin, totaling, as we mentioned, more than 500 in the years 1808 and 1812. Now, as we're about to see, the Gra holds that living in Eretz Yisrael is not an absolute chiyuv or even a mitzvah, but it's only a maila. And let's begin by reading the first chapter of the Iggeres HaGra. I don't know if you have it. You know what we'll do? Maybe I could give me 1 second. I'm going to get it for you on the screen. I'm going to get for you on the screen the nusach of the Iggeres HaGra.
It's in the WhatsApp group as a PDF.
Oh, perfect. Okay, thank you. Here we go. Basi levakesh me'yetchem. I would like to request of you, Shaloi titstaru klal uklal benasi la'Eretz Yisrael. Please do not be distressed that I'm going to Eretz Yisrael. V'gam lo tidagu, and also don't worry for me, kima shehivticha li imi, as my mother promised me. There are those who have a girsa, kima shehivticha li anoshim amitim, or like my confidants have guaranteed me. Now, this is a very important line, and this line may be the most powerful line and one of the greatest lessons of Musar that we're going to learn from the Iggeres HaGra. And that is, the Gra is asking his family, please do not be distressed and in pain that I'm leaving. Now, why would they be in pain? Because we know when you separate from a relative, it causes a painful anxiety. It causes great distress. Now, that means the Gra held that if his traveling would cause his family pain, perhaps he would not have gone. In other words, the Gra very much wanted to go to Eretz Yisrael, but to cause tsar to somebody else, that's asur. Certainly to cause tsar to your wife, certainly to cause tsar to your mother. So, and that's the reason why the Gra, before he left, he got guarantees. He asked his mother, Mama, please promise me that you won't be B'tzar. He asked his wife, please promise me that you won't be B'tzar. So clearly the Gra was very concerned about the distress of his family, to the extent where had he not gotten these promises, he would not have gone. So now, even though the Gra got promises, he's asking his mother and his wife, do not be distressed. What do you mean? Why is he asking them? He already got a guarantee, already got a promise from them that they wouldn't be in distress that he left. Apparently, the Gra was concerned that even though they gave him their word that they wouldn't be distressed, perhaps once he left, it would be too painful for them to bear. So he's requesting of them, b'shas ma'isa, even though you already gave me your word, but I still want your assurance that you will not continue to be distressed. So apparently the Gra held that even though it was his personal chumrah to go to the Holy Land, nevertheless it was very important for him that it should not be at the expense of his family. Now he said, don't be distressed and don't worry, because worry is different than pain. Pain is the separation pain, and worry is don't worry about what my matzav will be. And the Gra goes on to say that the reason they shouldn't be worried is because many people go on very long business trips and they leave their family and they leave all their belongings and they're just doing it for the sake of money. And here I'm doing it not for money but to bask in the great attributes of Eretz Yisroel, which again we'll see tomorrow implies the Gra holds that it's not a mitzvah to live in Eretz Yisroel, but there are many great attributes that accrues to a person who lives in Eretz Yisroel, and therefore the Gra is saying it's worth it for me to go, and please don't be concerned for my welfare. Okay, Baruch Hashem, we made a good start today. Baruch Hashem, we'll pick it up tomorrow. And everybody have yourself a great evening. Tonight, 9:15, Daf HaShavua. And wishing everyone bracha v'atzlacha. This year will be available on Torah Anytime. And again, the shiurim are now available on podcast as well. Wishing everyone a wonderful day. Kol tov.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.